Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to the Control Oversee podcast. I am your co-host, I suppose. The name is Ike Isaacs, and of course, I'm joined with your host, Salsa of the Shark. What's up, man?
Cracking open a cold one with the boys, eh?
So I guess Salsa's going to get shit-faced drunk while we're recording the podcast.
At least then I'll be interested.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, so welcome everybody to the podcast. We're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna start off kind of where we left off in the last podcast. And if you've not already checked out the last podcast, go ahead and go to the channel and watch that one and all the other ones. And because we're awesome and whatnot, you like to watch us. At least you like to pretend you like to listen to us and watch us. But yeah, just go check it out. But today we're going to start off at least talking about Assassin's Creed a little bit. Last time, if I'm not mistaken, we talked a little bit more about the original games and kind of where Assassin's Creed started. But for this one, we're going to kind of talk about where Assassin's Creed is now and, where's it going. So, Salsa, I'm going to turn it over to you here. I guess our first topic of the day is basically how Assassin's Creed has changed. So, enlighten us.
All right, but before I get that, I just want to clarify. You did say last time you're like, "Oh, before the next podcast, I'll play a little of Assassin's Creed 2, get into it, and we can talk about it."
So, to be fair, I am a busy man. I do have
You are a lazy bastard.
I have an IRL job, and also Salsa lives in an undisclosed location. But said undisclosed location is significantly away from where I currently live. So, and I did go see him recently, so that was kind of time consuming. So he acts like he's acting like that, but I did drive a while to see you.
It kind of sounds like to me you're a pussy who won't play a game in his car while he's driving.
Yeah, it's not like I have a Tesla. You think my car can run an Xbox, or I have the facilities in order to have a mobile gaming station, much less
buy a Tesla.
Yeah, just buy a Tesla. How much is a Tesla?
Fuck if I know. You think I have a Tesla?
I know you don't have a Tesla. How much are Teslas? I'm Googling this.
Gotta find. I will say, someone locally was not selling a Tesla because there aren't many, plug-in stations around here.
Right.
But they were selling the middle computer console to a Tesla that you can plug into your own car, and I was like, how'd you get your hands on that, huh?
Damn. I was just gonna say, whose car did he steal that out of?
I'll say where I live, I guarantee that is not a clean product they are selling, so to speak.
Fair. So the oldest Tesla. Let's see. Wait, no.
I mean, I read they're really not that expensive. It's just a matter of you have to pay to install a proper charging station, and even then, It's kind of a bitch.
Yeah, so the rear-wheel drive standard range, which is 220 miles a charge.
Damn, that's pretty good.
Yeah, which isn't bad. I mean, on a full tank of gas, I get 500 miles total-ish. So, I mean, that's a little bit of an undercut, but I suppose I understand why. So, just a standard, 220 range for an electronic car. Base price before tax credits, it says, is $35,000. So, I guess that's not too bad. I recently bought a car. Fun fact. I had a car that I bought a while ago, but I actually bought a different one because my old car wasn't that great. But the new car,
dumbass forgot to change the oil.
See, it wasn't necessarily that per se. It was a mixture of things. That I will say that I did make the mistake of not getting the oil changed regularly. However, it apparently this is a known thing to me, but Chevys that have what's called a turbo, which it just introduces, from what I understand, introduces air into the engine to make it run smoother, or something like that is what a turbocharger is. But regardless of that, basically the turbos they go out pretty well, pretty consistently, and that's just an overall issue, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So obviously, I will take I'll take credit for where credit's due. I did not change the oil consistently enough, which
I did not hit her mark.
I didn't do it, Mark. But we're not here to talk about cars. What we're here to talk about is video games.
Good, because I know jack shit about cars. I've owned the same O2 truck for the last 4 years.
Yeah, but you don't really drive it that much, do you?
No, not really, but that's because of legal reasons that we shall not talk about on the podcast.
Basically, Logan may have diddled a kid. No.
Well, hold up now. Hold up. First off, statute of limitations. Second off, she said she was 18.
She said shit. Fair enough. But outside of that, because I definitely feel somebody being like getting triggered.
Yeah, I'm real afraid someone's gonna listen to this and then start trying to call me out on Twitter like, yeah, look at the kitty diddler.
that was only done for comedic purposes. Salsa has never done that.
just air out, clear up any allegations. I have never touched another human being in my life.
I mean, I don't know if that's true, but you've never touched any human being for any reason ever.
For legal reasons, I have never touched another human being in my life.
Damn.
All right, so
but back to Assassin's Creed.
Boy, this is gonna be a fun topic.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about basically how Assassin's Creed used to be a really good story-heavy game to a story-light RPG with absolute grindy bullshit, as Logan says it.
Yeah, just read it right off the page, huh?
Hell yeah, that's how I do it. So elaborate on that a little bit for folks who maybe don't watch it that much.
All right, so I'm going to lay down the essentials, which is Assassin's Creed 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, 3 Liberation, 4 offshoot that I forget the name of, where Adewale is the good guy, the main character, and subsequently even Unity, I think, and Syndicate. Basically, all the good ones, you can tell it's a good Assassin's Creed game by the fact that you can pull out your sword, and when someone goes to hit you, you can counter, and it kills them in one hit. That's a good Assassin's Creed game.
Right.
When the game measures how much damage you're doing based on, I don't know, DPS, not a good Assassin's Creed game. And they changed it right about, I want to say it was Origins. Origins, which kind of, hence the name Origins, is about the starting place for the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which back then was called something goofy like the Hidden Ones. Because, Egyptians.
Right. Egyptians. Damn Egyptians.
It sounded spooky, okay? But,
sounded spoopy.
But yeah, it was literally a game where you could go around and you had to constantly pick up new weapons because you were leveling up and you needed to, for one, upgrade your character and get better weapons that deal more damage so you could take on higher level characters. Which for an Assassin's Creed game, absolute bullshit. It was literally, oh yeah, you can go anywhere and do anything, but if you even think about stepping in to the Great Giza, plateau without ranking up to level fucking 35 first, expect hellfire, retribution.
Jesus Christ.
The great sun god Ra himself will smite thee from this plane of existence just for daring to think you could match against someone who's 2 levels higher than you. But yeah, it was obviously it was their way of trying to break into a new market because
Right.
they felt that their previous games were not selling as well. And they thought it was because no one wanted to play Assassin's Creed anymore. Instead, what it was is they kept fucking up and making Assassin's Creed games with dumb mechanics or stories that weren't compelling.
Right.
Unity, I like Unity. I think Unity is a very fun game because it did one thing right, which is you can change every piece of your clothing, your pants, your boots, your overcoats, your hood,
Your underwear.
and I will neither confirm nor deny that. But by doing that, it would upgrade certain stats. Like I would always go with I forget what it was called, Stalker. I don't know. It basically was a very trashy looking overcoat with a kind of loose hood, and it didn't look good, but it maxed the fuck out of your stealth skill. Like I could literally sneak up in front of like an enemy and assassinate them before they even see me.
Damn.
And I will say, the game had its shortcomings.
Of course.
Story wise, it was kind of eh. I love the concept of multiplayer, but it was so poorly implemented that no one ever played it. And how do I? Oh, I talked about it last time, I think, but the fact that you can use a musket not only as a gun, but you can literally grab it by its barrel, swing it around, and just crack skulls like a war club. Phenomenal, top tier. I love the game.
You're
Still
like the
fun.
fact. You're like the fact that I can bludgeon somebody to death with a musket makes this game worth it.
It is a good outlet. And I will say this is a fun fact I read. Well, couple fun facts actually. Assassin's Creed Unity so accurately portrayed the what is the name of that church that burned down a few years ago?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name of the church, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
But yeah, they so accurately rebuilt it in the game that when it burnt down in real life, that they actually used Assassin's Creed Unity to actually start crafting new plans to rebuild the church.
Damn.
And here's another fun fact. Assassin's Creed Unity was the first Assassin's Creed game where you could, with the press of a button, crouch. In a stealth game, that might come as a surprise.
I was gonna say, I remember we talked about this before, that some of the other games that wasn't really an option.
I mean, literally, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 7 games about stealth that you could not crouch down, which is hilarious to me.
It's a
But
little counterintuitive.
a little, but you want to know why they never implemented it?
Why?
Because when they finally did, I read that it took over 100,000 lines of code just to get it to work properly.
Jesus.
100,000 brand new spanking lines of code just so your guy can lower his stance by about a foot or two.
Which, I mean, I think that opens up a greater conversation of how amazing video games are in reality. Like
Oh yeah,
even the shittiest video game. Like honestly, I'm not gonna say Fallout 76 because there's nothing redeeming about that game. But even one of the games that I hate, Fortnite, to create a game that and this is just a general concept of how the game was made. Fortnite has a very intuitive building system. I don't like it because I'm old and it doesn't make sense to me, but I can at least recognize that the building system is very advanced and it's usable to people who have trained on it.
yeah. And not to disparage, Epic for, their efforts, because I hate Fortnite. I absolutely despise it. I think it is a game that as someone very well put it, I hate when I shoot at a 12-year-old kid and they shit out a 10-story apartment building.
I mean, exactly. And it's like, I don't hate Fortnite because it's not a good game. I hate Fortnite because that's just not my kind of game. I'm not, I can recognize that Fortnite's very well put together, just generally speaking. And honestly, it's
how often do you hear about glitches or bugs in Fortnite?
that's what I was gonna say. I don't really hear any issues of people having issues. I remember a while ago people were having some issues, like with lobbies being full, but that wasn't the game's fault. That literally millions of people were playing it simultaneously.
How fucking dare the game have so many players? How dare they?
How dare they? But other than that, exactly like you said, that game incredibly well put together. It is super advanced for what the concept it's working off of. And Assassin's Creed is no small feat either. I mean, you think about how much technology had to go into. Like, if you really think about it, you have to think about, like, where did we come from? We started with, the first real video games were games like, what I don't even know what the system's called, but it's like basically it's a word games, like where you type things in and it tells
like what do they call those?
story. You choose your own adventure.
Yeah, like an RPG, but it's all text.
Exactly. Yeah, so exactly. You start with these text-based adventure games that are basically running off of command prompt. And you know, you eventually work your way up to things like Pong, which for its time is a technological feat. And then you have your other workups to the point where you're actually seeing like legitimate movement on screen, and it's reactive to what you're doing. And then even now we have literally 3D games that look so realistic, and Assassin's Creed, I will say, has a beautiful visuals. That in of itself is a technological feat. However,
However,
the game's still shit.
oh yeah, because don't get me wrong, Assassin's Creed Origin, all the Assassin's Creed really, very accurately represents the time period and the architecture. Like
Right.
Assassin's Creed 2, Revelations, 2 and Brotherhood are a very good representation of both Firenze, Rome. What's that one that's on the water?
Italy?
No, dumbass. I'm talking about the city, not the whole ass country.
Oh fuck. I have no idea. Normandy.
Straight up fucking Normandy. But even the new ones, Odyssey and Origin, as much as I hate their grindy bullshit RPG, no story ass fucking. Origins had a decent story. Odyssey, no story whatsoever. But I can still respect that it's a very beautiful rendition of Egypt, and especially Greece.
Right.
And I do think it was kind of dumb that I literally went back and could fight Anubis and fucking Zeus himself.
I'm killing the gods. I am God.
It made sense in the lore, but it felt retarded.
Right.
Probably shouldn't say that. That's a no word now.
I mean, yeah, a little bit, but it's okay. I mean, we're not here to make friends.
That is the most accurate thing I've ever heard about this podcast.
True. So basically what we've established at this point is that Assassin's Creed is overall, if from an outside looking in, Assassin's Creed is a really great story-based game series, despite some of the newer games' shortcomings. Assassin's Creed overall is beautiful, well done, generally without major issues. But you recently played Odyssey, and the ending, and I kind of have an idea, if I remember correctly, the ending, was not the best. So maybe elaborate on this, and of course, spoiler alerts for anybody who's not played Odyssey, of course.
All right. Well, there's basically 3 endings.
Already don't like it.
Yeah. the vanilla ending, which literally ends with Cassandra or Alexios. I chose Alexios. They take the Staff of Hermes, and it gives them immortality, but if they ever give it away at any point after like so many years, they automatically die. So Alexios Cassandra holds on to it until they meet Layla Hassan, who is in the modern day using the Animus to relive their life and understand more about this piece of Eden.
Right.
In the vanilla version, literally it ends with Layla takes the staff and Alexios Cassandra straight up just fucking dies. That's it. And she literally says, well, I better go back into the Animus to learn more.
Literally just dies right in front of you and like, oh, better get back to my research.
Yeah, straight up. No cap. But then their second bullshit story ending is you then go into the Chamber of Atlantis, where you basically find out the fate of Atlantis, what happened to them. And you see that Alexios or I'm just going to say Alexios because it's too much effort to say Alexios and Cassandra.
Right.
Alexios goes back. Okay, never mind. I'll say Cassandra because she's the canon protagonist. Fuck it.
Right.
Cassandra goes back goes into the Chamber of Atlantis and has to go through 3 separate simulations. In the first one, she is placed in Persephone's domain, Elysium. There, she has to basically mess around a little bit and piss off Persephone enough that Persephone lets her into Hades' domain, the underworld. You go there, and then that's a second simulation. You're in underworld now, and you have to do some more bullshit that is kind of retarded before you basically essentially kill Hades himself.
Oh,
who,
okay.
mind you, Hades and all the gods are part of that race of precursors to the humans known as the Isu.
Right.
They're really not godlike other than their technology.
So they're kind of like God, but not quite a God?
Kind of. Like, they're tall, they look heavenly, but all their power comes from the technology they have created. In fact, they created humans, but that's a whole other story. So what happens is you basically kill Hades, and then you get taken to Atlantis, finally, the third and last simulation. While there, you are given the title of, I forget what, basically the enforcer of Atlantis. You work directly under Poseidon. Your job is to make peace between the humans and the Isu who live there. Okay. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out because the Isu see the human as inferior, and I mean literally, they take humans and perform some fucked up experiments on them and turn them into bullshit things like the Minotaur, Medusa, these weird zombie things that are super weak but really scary to look at.
Accurate.
And basically at the end of it, Cassandra says to Poseidon, I don't think there is any saving Atlantis. The best thing we can do is just end it. So Poseidon says, fuck it. Sends out an alarm that, most of the humans living in the outer rings are able to escape Atlantis. The rest of them, the Isus and the humans living in the inner rings, all die. because you choose to flood Atlantis and sink it to the bottom of the ocean.
Okay.
Literally, all that comes of this is when you finally come out of the simulation as Layla Hassan, you now have the experience to control the staff of Hermes.
Okay.
However, in the process of gaining that experience, like an absolute dumb fuck, Layla slaughters her best friend and doctor.
Oh, great.
Yeah, just straight up hits her in the face with the staff of Hermes, and bitch dies. Then, at the very end of it, after you've learned everything, this guy, Otso Berg, I believe is his name, he's essentially one of the most renowned assassin hunters who works for the Templar. He comes for you and puts up very little fight. You kill him way too easily, with how much he's been built up over the last how many games. And then it literally ends with, you don't even kill him. You, instead of killing him, like you did to your best friend, you not even mortally wound him. Dude straight up survives. You paralyze him.
Oh, okay.
And then it ends with Layla Hassan saying, well, I guess I better go back to the Animus. And that's it. That's technically the end of the game, but there is one more ending. And this one I actually like. It's a side story about Cassandra having a kid. I believe what happens is what happens?
I was gonna say I have no idea.
It's hard to explain. Basically, she, what she does, she meets an old man named I'm blank on his name. Give me about, I don't know, 10 seconds and I'll probably come up with it. Might have to Google that shit real quick. Okay, so I think I remember, I want to say his name was Darius. Basically, this old man you meet in Macedonia, I believe is the location.
I thought it was Macedonia.
Well, fuck if I know. I played the game, but I wasn't paying attention.
I don't think it's Macedonia. Continue.
They pronounce everything weird because they use this old kind of Greek way of pronouncing things. Like from, what we would say Macedonia, they'd be like, Macedonia. Or like
McDonald's.
McDonald. It's like apparently there's a joke that it's fun to pronounce words like you would in Greek, like testicle. They'd be like testicles.
Yeah, testicles.
But yeah, Macedonia or Macedonia, as they called it in the game. You meet a man named Darius, who I guess they used to be Persians, but this man, Darius, he is a famous assassin. He was the first ever assassin, if I recall correctly. He was the first one to ever use the hidden blade that you see in all the games. Except for back then, he mounted it on the top of his forearm instead of the bottom. And he used it to kill the King Xerxes.
Yeah, Xerxes, yeah.
Which actually, fun fact, since you said you were going to play Assassin's Creed 2, you can actually find him in the game as a statue. And it'll say, Darius, the first ever known use of the hidden blade, killer of great King Xerxes. They straight up called him out all those years ago in their second game. That is impressive.
So that's a pretty good continuity.
That's what I love about the game, is they're pretty consistent. But yeah, basically, You meet him and his child, who the gender of the child changes based on whether or not you play as Alexios or Cassandra. Canonically, it's Cassandra. So you meet Darius and his son. I don't remember his name, but you have a kid at some point. When you have that kid, you kind of start settling down, and you do a couple missions where you're just living your daily life as a husband. You go to get some milk and bread from the market, and you have to kill some boars because they're threatening the local town people, and you're trying to be a good citizen. Long story short, you become hunted by a group of people known as the Order of Ancients. And what it is the Order of Ancients is the direct ancestor of the Knights Templar, who are the main antagonist of pretty much all of Assassin's Creed. In the mainline story for Odyssey, you fight against a group of people known as the Cult of Cosmos. And there's a little bit of controversy there, which is that officially in Assassin's Creed canon, the Cult of Cosmos and the Order of Ancients are both precursors to the Templar. A lot of people like to say that true Assassin's Creed fans do not recognize the Cult of Cosmos as a precursor. However, according to, Ubisoft, they are.
Right.
So yeah, in the mainline story, you fight the Cult of Cosmos. In this side story, you fight the Order of Ancients. They basically kill your wife and steal your kid. So
Shit.
you and Darius have to go and recover your kid and kill the rest of the remaining Order of Ancients. One of which happens to be, I guess, Darius's old friend. Because originally Darius and his friend were royal guards or something. But Darius realized to keep peace in the world, he had to kill King Xerxes the First, or Xerxes I of Persia, whom I guess was doing some fucked up shit at the time.
Right.
He went to kill him. His friend, whose name I'm reading is fucking hey, what is his name? I don't know. Basically goes to kill him, but his friend stops him, and they become sworn mortal enemies for the rest of life. Darius escapes, renames himself to Darius because his original name was Artabanus, and he's constantly on the run with his family. Ends up in Greece. By that time, the only people left in his family are him and his daughter. So he's super protective of her.
Of course.
Now that she's dead, Darius kind of blames you because had you not fallen in love with her and had a child, she would still be alive.
Shit.
Because I guess the reason they were hunting you in the first place and Darius and his kid are that you are all known as Tainted Ones who carry the blood of the precursor Isu, which gives you like immense power or something. I don't know. But they kill her because she's a Tainted One and she's, bound to you. They take your kid and basically plan to raise him to become a Tainted One hunter.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because apparently there are multiple other members of the Order of Ancients who are straight up Tainted Ones, but their duty is to kill other Tainted Ones. Long story short,
Seems a little hypocritical.
it's a wild ass. It's hard to make sense of it. But long story short, you kill them, you get your child back, and you decide it is not safe for your child to exist in Greece as long as the Order of Ancients are still hunting you. So you send your child, still an infant, with what's his name? Darius, in a boat, just off into the world. Long story short, your child makes it to Egypt. There, your child and Darius start a long line of basically assassins, proto-assassins, who attempts to uphold the order of the universe by directly opposing the then they were called the Order of Ancients, now the Templar.
I gotcha.
Long story short, your child has a child, that child has a child, that child has a child, and eventually gives birth to a daughter named Aya, Aya, who marries Bayek. They are the main characters of Assassin's Creed Origin.
Okay.
And so basically if you look at like all of Assassin's Creed combined, a lot of it has to do with lineage. A lot of these people are connected. Assassin's Creed 2, Ezio is a descendant of Altair. Ezio's descendants are the mainline character, Miles. Fuck, I forget his name, but yeah. Desmond Miles, that's it. And he's connected to a shit ton of other assassins like Rotona Keton, Edward Kenway. I don't know. The whole series is basically about once an assassin, always assassin. It is built into your blood because a lot of assassins do have trace amounts of Isu DNA, which makes them better suited for fighting the Templars and upholding just a tiny bit of chaos in the world. I don't know what the whole point of this was. Oh yeah. That is a good ending. You find out that your daughter is essentially the ancestor of Aya, or later renamed Amunet, of the Assassin Order, because Aya and Bayek create the Hidden Ones, who later rebrand as the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
Okay. So it's kind of just it's basically just the good ending in your mind is the one that continues the story in a way.
Yeah, because really everything else in Odyssey is a self-contained story that has no bearing on the future of Assassin's Creed. But that at least says, hey, look, you are the direct ancestor of this character, who is a direct ancestor of another character. I don't know. It's what I liked about the old games, because the old games were very good at tying into each other in ways you don't expect.
Right.
Like, I could go on for a while talking about little like moments in Assassin's Creed where it's like, oh shit, this moment ties into this, and these games are connected in this way.
Right.
That's
right.
a whole podcast in and of itself, probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could probably fill a book with all that, but I was gonna say that, and that kind of opens up the conversation to something else. Is that we've mentioned it before. We don't have a whole lot of information, but we do know that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the next game. And really, that kind of even plays into the future of Assassin's Creed, because right now the future of Assassin's Creed is a Valhalla. So I think it's just, we hope that maybe it goes back to the Assassin's Creed that we know and love, and it also hopefully will positively continue the Assassin's Creed lineage and timeline.
I will be honest. As someone who's loved the series and followed it very thoroughly for years, what I predict will happen is Assassin's Creed Valhalla will be the end of the Layla Hassan trilogy.
Right.
Much like there was the Desmond Miles trilogy, this will be her end. And then after this game, maybe we'll get back to, something that is reminiscent of original Assassin's Creed. Because, Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, they all take place so far in the past that it lacks what the original Assassin's Creed had. and this may sound like a dumb complaint, but the tight-knit cities, the ability to run from rooftop to rooftop and stalk your prey, has been missing for the last few games. And it's kind of instrumental to what I think Assassin's Creed is supposed to be.
Right.
But I will say, after this game, I don't think they're going to do it. But, as you know, Watch Dogs Legion is a game coming out in the near future.
Right. And honestly, there's a lot to dive in there, but there's a really good game theory video that basically shows, I would say, pretty considerable proof, and this was prior to any other, confirming anything, but it shows pretty considerable proof that Watch Dogs, at least the character in the first Watch Dogs, is in fact a member of that lineage, right?
Well, I don't know about he's a member of the lineage, but at the very least, there is definitive proof that Assassin's Creed is happening in the same universe as Watch Dogs. Because in Watch Dogs 1, you kill Olivier Garneau, who is the head of Abstergo Entertainment Division, which is the rebranded version of Templars. You can literally see in Assassin's Creed 4 and Watch Dogs 1 a proof that it's the same guy, and that he goes missing at a later part of Assassin's Creed 4 because when he went to Chicago, he straight up gets murked by fucking Aiden Pierce.
Right.
And then, obviously Watch Dogs 1 and 2, same universe, no doubt about it. He literally shows up in Watch Dogs 2 in one mission, briefly, which is disappointing because he's way cooler than any other character, except for maybe Wrench. I loved Wrench. He was hilarious.
So I've not really played through 2 yet, but I have played through 1 for most of it. And Watch Dogs 1 it's awesome. Really, really awesome. I enjoyed it a lot.
It reminds me a lot of a modern day Assassin's Creed with a very gritty, dark story.
Right. It does.
And Watch Dogs 2 takes all the gameplay aspects and then says, okay, but imagine instead of dark and gritty, we're now in California, in Silicon Valley, and the entire game is basically a parody. Like, literally, you play a hipster millennial who runs around wearing retro-themed jackets and clothing and says stuff like OMG, LOL. It's kind of sad. But I think Watch Dogs Legion will kind of rectify that and put us on the right track again.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And hopefully Legion it'll maybe return to some of that grittiness and maybe even give us a little more of a glimpse into the connection between the two universes.
Yeah, and because I'm kind of hoping, in all honesty, that with Watch Dogs Legion, you'll see more ties to Assassin's Creed, so that in the future we may have maybe not a modern day Assassin's Creed, but something a little more
current age.
Yeah, because Watch Dogs is staying true to their origins. Assassin's Creed has strayed so far that they need a little nudge in the right direction.
Right.
But enough of that. I figure we've probably gone on about all the things we would change in Assassin's Creed if we could for long enough.
Right. So I guess for right now, we're at least going to close the book on Assassin's Creed, and we're hopeful for the future. We hope that future Assassin's Creed games will kind of revisit their roots. We hope that Valhalla is more like an old Assassin's Creed game. Obviously, we're not going to hold our breath.
Oh, yeah, no. It's just going to be another RPG grinder bullshit. But maybe they'll fix it enough that it'll be playable.
Right, that's what I was going to say. Maybe they'll fix the grindy bullshit enough to make it bearable. But and then hopefully with the oh my gosh, but yeah, hopefully with the Watch Dogs Legion, we'll get a little more of a glimpse into some other stuff. But I guess really the next thing we wanted to talk about is actually some more recent news.
Yeah, it
So
literally came out like yesterday, I think.
I think you're right. I think that's what you said previously. But so for people who haven't listened to our other podcasts, I believe it was podcast number 1. Actually, we talked about selling consoles during a pandemic and how holy shit, like why are we paying almost $600 for a console, and what am I really getting out of that? And so recently, the Xbox, because the original one is X Series, Xbox has released another one, which is the Xbox S Series, which is going to be $299.99. But there's a catch. You don't get a disc drive. Now, me and Salsa talked about this a little bit, and I would encourage anybody listening to give us your opinions on that. But for the most part, I think me and Salsa agree that, I mean, for $299 for a next gen console, I think that's pretty reasonable, even without a disc drive.
I would say yes, because $500 for a brand new console is very steep, even though, I'll be honest, I do not agree with the console wars anymore. Kind of an outdated topic even a few years ago. But I've always been preferential to the Xbox. I think the
Right.
Xbox X Series will be vastly superior to the PS5 because literally the Xbox X Series, if you look at the internals, it's basically just a gaming PC on the higher end. Now we're not talking like, liquid nitrogen cooled supercomputer shit, but it's at least good enough that I can run native 4K 60 FPS.
Right.
And the fact that you can get a version of it for $300, it's going to undercut the PlayStation 5, in my opinion, because there's no way Sony is going to release a discless version of their console for any less than $350.
That's even kind of what we talked about. We obviously in the past we've seen Sony and Microsoft be competitive with each other, and I don't think that that's going to stop. However, I think for this specific product release, for sure Microsoft is going to have the upper hand. I just don't see any timeline where it doesn't play out in the way that Microsoft has the upper hand. And like you said, $350 for a PS5, even discless, even $299, which I was super shocked about. When you told me that, I was a little shook. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, holy shit! Like, you're telling me that I can get the next gen console, and all I have to do is sacrifice a disc drive, which in reality, 99% of our game library, because it's mostly games that you've purchased previously, but I've helped put some in there. But 99% of the game library that we share is digital.
Oh yeah,
Like,
because I will agree that there is an argument to be made about discs need to remain in existence. Only
right,
because I think it is important for some people that they can continue their hobby of collecting games in physical copies.
right,
But at the same time, I personally do not agree that disc, a hard copy, is superior. I think
yeah,
digital is the way to go because, what with cloud services and expandable hard drives, you're going to see it much more reasonable, especially when you're being given what is that? It's $200 off of a $500.
yeah. It's $200 off of a literal next gen console. Like this
That's like
is
a 40% price drop for the
yeah.
same product.
Which I mean, honestly, that's just. I mean, I don't want to say that because obviously the X series is going to sell plenty. I have no doubt in
Oh,
that because I feel like the majority of the populace is probably going to disagree with having no disk drive. I think that we're going to be in the minority, um,
perhaps.
honestly. But I feel like that's not going to be the case for too long because I definitely feel like in the coming years you'll see that be more common. And honestly, I think that this is going to sound so dumb, but I think one day consoles are going to go completely diskless, but you have the option to attach a disk drive, similar to how a lot of laptops are. For instance, my laptop, it doesn't have a disk drive. So you
For a
have to get,
what?
yeah, well, it's a newer laptop, and so it doesn't have a disk drive.
Yeah, mine's
But
pretty new too, but it's got a disk drive.
well, this one was like last few years, mind you. So, or I should say, it's not necessarily only mine. It's also my fiance. She got it for her schooling, but it doesn't have a disk drive.
Kind
However,
of
we do.
sounds like a shitty laptop to me.
Well, but if you think about it, who uses discs anymore? Who uses CDs? Who uses CD-ROMs?
Well, how else
90%.
am I gonna watch my my porn collection?
Get a DVD player for $5 at Walmart.
Well, yeah,
You
but
can
I'm not a freak who watches it on my big screen TV.
bear. But basically, what I'm getting to is that
It's
you
harder
know,
to wipe the nut off. With a laptop,
uh,
has a nice, stain-resistant screen.
Jesus Christ. So back to my point that a lot of modern laptops are without a disk drive because 99% of anything that you want to put on your laptop can be done either in USB format or there are other methods in which to do so. It's the same thing with floppy disks. You know, floppy disks were a thing. They went absolutely obsolete. Obviously, floppy disks for a little bit of a different reason, just because there was an inherent. I would say there was an inherent disadvantage to floppy disks because as computers have evolved, the memory format requirements have evolved, and there was no way that small a memory format would exist. But with disks, the good thing about disks is that you can there are advancements in disk imagery and things of that nature that make them bigger and have more operating space. But the natural evolution here is using things like flash drives and cloud storage in lieu of having disk drives because I can do pretty much everything I want to do on my laptop without a disk drive. Like there's very little that I can't do. In fact, I don't think there's anything that I can't do with my laptop that I can't already do with it
Well, I
with a
mean,
disk
off the
drive.
top of
If
my
that makes
head, watch
sense.
a DVD.
But that's the thing. Why would I need a DVD? I literally have 100 streaming services at my disposal. I
You
have
do, but you
a
have to
hundred.
remember we have an oversaturated market. So literally, if you want to watch one specific movie that you have on DVD, you have to find out which service actually carries it. Then you have to pay for that service, and then you have to hope you bought the version that doesn't have ads, or else you're going to sit through 20 ads every 15 seconds.
But
It's
just counterpoint briefly. If I am in such desperate need to let's say I don't have an Xbox. Let's say I don't have a PlayStation. Let's say I don't have a DVD or a Blu-ray player. Even though a Blu-ray player, you can literally go to Walmart and buy one for like $20.
your
So
Xbox is equipped with a Blu-ray player.
I know. I'm just saying. Let's say theoretically, the only thing that I have at my disposal is a laptop. Um,
Then you a broke ass bitch.
well, I'm just saying theoretically, I could go on Amazon right now, and for less than $20, I can buy a external DVD drive.
I
You
get,
could
I
like.
get it, but I think
I'm just saying.
I think it's a dumb thing to take out of a laptop because it doesn't take up all that much room, in my opinion, and it strikes too close to home. Because as you know, I despise Apple. I hate their dumbass Mac laptops. And I remember reading that one of their newer versions straight up does not have an Ethernet port because they said it wouldn't fit. And I'm
And don't get me wrong, I see where you're going with that, but see and see that and I get what you're saying, but I feel like that's more and I don't get me wrong, I have my specific dislikes for laptops or for Apple just in general, and I think that Macs are good, generally good computers. I disagree with taking certain features out. Um,
Well, my
But
big problem is they said there was no room for it, but literally this years before there was another company in Japan who said they didn't have room for a traditional one, so they literally just made one that pops out the side that collapses to fit inside of itself. Why
but
not just use that?
but generally speaking, and this is honestly just knowledge, okay? How many people?
Knowledge.
But think about it. So unless you have a desktop, so if you have a desktop, obviously you have two options for how you get your internet. Option number one, if you're obviously, I haven't had a desktop in a while. So back when I had a desktop, it was either hardline in or you get a wireless adapter for Wi-Fi. Now, obviously, I know that some newer stuff, newer PCs may have a built-in wireless adapter, so it's either use the built-in wireless adapter or an Ethernet cord. So obviously, I get that, okay, right? So I understand that. That's a desktop though. So
Yeah.
with laptops, the let's see, let me think here for a second. All right, so I lost my train of thought. So basically, where I was going with that is that laptops, the introduction of the laptop was supposed to be that like it's a computer but it's mobile, right? Like that was the entire. I don't want to say that's the entire purpose, but you look at why laptops were created. They were created because what they were wanting to do is they were wanting to create a computer that was mobile. They wanted to create a computer that didn't have limitations. And obviously, early laptops had the limitation of, well, they can't use Wi-Fi, or at that time, I obviously I don't want to sound stupid, but I would venture to guess that early laptops probably didn't have their Wi-Fi, probably wasn't really an option. Um, but you look at modern laptops, 99% of the people who use modern laptops are using modern laptops with Wi-Fi. So not to say that there's no reason for an Ethernet cord, but at this juncture, with how fast internet speeds are, and how fast our technology is, and how fast laptops are, there's little to no reason to have an Ethernet cord. Obviously, unless you're running a desktop, in my opinion.
Well,
Obviously, but and because I know what you're going to say, but what if it's the fact that they're removing it because there's no space. Okay, so maybe they could have added it into the product, but if 99% of your product populace is not going to use it, it is a useless function on the laptop. And if somebody truthfully needs a USB port, I will say it again. You can literally right here. I just pulled up my little phone here. Nose is looking here. You can literally get at newegg.com for $2.80 a USB to USB plug-in where you can plug your Ethernet cord into it.
now let me counter all that with this. The fact that a Wi-Fi adapter is never going to be as fast as an Ethernet cord. No matter how hard you try, Wi-Fi adapters have huge limitations. My PC can only use Wi-Fi at about 100 megabits per second on a good day. Whereas if I plug straight in with an Ethernet cable, the one I have gives me almost gigabit download speeds. Granted, it is
Right.
heavily, it does matter whether or not the website I am downloading from supports the same upload. But that is irrelevant. Let's say I want to work from home, but I'd only have a laptop. Well, yeah, I may have Wi-Fi, but sometimes your Wi-Fi is going to be spotty. Sometimes it's not going to be the best for doing business. If you want a secure Ethernet connection, it's important that they keep it in, because look at other companies. Every other company still has it. Apple's one of the only ones who's removing it because Apple has this notion that they're going to create a trend.
What's up, fellow geeks? It is Ike Isaacs bringing to you here today a beautiful picture of my face. So you're probably wondering, it's Wednesday. Today is the Control Over C podcast day. Why are we seeing Isaac? Why are we seeing Ike? Like, what's going on here? So basically, where I cut off in the podcast, because I did the editing this week for the podcast, where I cut off in the podcast was basically where me and Salsa began to argue a little bit. And there's about 45 minutes of me and Salsa arguing basically over whether or not Android or iPhone is better. And this is mostly just because me and him, he has an Android, I have an iPhone. And you know, and I don't sing praises of Apple per se, because I understand that Apple has its issues, but I also don't shit on them as much. So definitely Salsa and I have known each other for a long time, and he has some very strong opinions on Apple. So for about 45 minutes at the end of the podcast, basically after where I cut it off, me and him argue. Now, I'm going to post this as a separate video. I'm actually going to post it on Monday as additional content, because it takes up so much time that if I were to put in this podcast, the podcast would be too long. So we're just going to save it for another day. So, but I wanted to give a little note here, a little quick conversation, letting you know that we didn't just forget to record part of the podcast. It's recorded. It's just, if we were to include it, it would not be, it's not as, not that it wouldn't be good, but it would make the podcast too long, and just overall speaking, it would probably not fit the overall vibe in a way. So, coming Monday, we will have a little breakdown of our opinions and stuff of Android versus Apple. So feel free to check that out. It'll still be Ctrl+C branded, but it'll probably be just like a real quick segment where we argue. So check that out on Monday. But for right now, we're gonna end the Ctrl+C podcast right here. So everybody out there, as we always say, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.